Edgar Cayce was known as the Sleeping Prophet, a man of humble origins, with little formal education, who, when slipping into a self-induced trance, spoke truths that still challenge science, religion, and philosophy today. His more than 14,000 recorded readings ranged from health and healing to history, prophecy, and most of all, the journey of the soul. Among these revelations, one phrase echoes like a key. It does not matter so much who you were, but rather how your past actions influence your present life and what opportunities they open or close. This idea, radical for his time, reframed reincarnation not as a curiosity of who was I in a past life, but as a tool of responsibility. Cayce insisted that our past selves, whether we lived as peasants or kings, warriors or healers, were not nearly as important as the lessons we carried into today. To him, each incarnation was a classroom, and the curriculum was shaped by the soul's own deeds. He told seekers who asked about their supposed greatness in ancient times that such details were trivial. What mattered was how their present choices built upon or corrected those patterns. Do not be so fascinated with what you were called or where you lived, he warned. Instead, seek what you may do with what you have, here and now. For Cayce, life itself was a continuous stream. Just as a river carries water from one valley into the next, the soul carries its experiences from one life to another. Every kindness offered, every cruelty inflicted, every act of love or betrayal leaves its mark, flowing forward. In this way, the past never vanishes. It becomes the soil from which our present opportunities grow. And yet Cayce never painted this picture as hopeless. He emphasized the power of free will. Yes, the past influences us, but it does not imprison us. Each new life is a chance to transform, to rewrite the script. This balance between consequence and freedom gave his followers both accountability and hope. In the vision of Edgar Cayce, reincarnation is not about nostalgia or fatalism. It is about responsibility, growth, and possibility. A soul is not trapped by its yesterday. It is shaped by it, challenged by it, and invited to rise beyond it. When people hear the word karma, many think of punishment, of an invisible judge that rewards or condemns. But Edgar Cayce described something far more subtle and far more personal. For him, karma was not a sentence handed down by some external force. It was memory, a living imprint of the choices the soul has made across time. He explained it in simple terms. Every thought, every deed, every emotion is energy. That energy doesn't vanish when the body dies. It travels with the soul, woven into its very fabric, reappearing in new lifetimes as tendencies, talents, struggles, or even fears. This is why a person might feel an instant bond with a stranger or an inexplicable hostility towards someone they barely know. According to Cayce, those sudden reactions are not random. They are echoes, vibrations from encounters long forgotten by the conscious mind, but never erased from the soul's memory. In one of his readings, Cayce told a woman who suffered from a paralyzing fear of water that her condition was not rooted in childhood trauma, as doctors believed, but in a past life where she had drowned. In another, he revealed that a young boy's natural gift for music came not from chance or genetics alone, but from centuries of devotion to the art in previous incarnations. These stories show Cayce's central teaching. Karma is not a prison, it is a lesson. Challenges in this life are not punishments, but opportunities. They are the soul's way of revisiting unfinished business, correcting errors, or building upon strengths. He urged his followers to view every obstacle with new eyes. That difficult relationship, it might be the stage to finally learn forgiveness. That illness, perhaps a path to discover compassion, patience, or resilience. For Cayce, the most important truth was this: no soul is ever bound. Every action creates ripples, but every present choice has the power to redirect them. The past influences, but the will reshapes. Karma, then, is not fate, it is potential. It shows us where we have been, but more importantly, it points to where we might yet go. In this way, life becomes not a punishment but a map, and each decision we make writes the next line of that map, guiding us forward on the endless journey. Edgar Cayce often spoke of the subconscious mind as more than a storehouse of forgotten childhood events. For him, it was a gateway, an entrance into the vast memory of the soul. When Cayce entered trance, he described accessing what he called the Akashic Records, a limitless archive containing every thought, action, and experience of every soul since the beginning of time. From this source, he gave readings that revealed astonishing details about people's lives. He would describe the struggles of a man in the present and trace them back to an act of betrayal in a past incarnation. He would explain a child's unusual talent not as a mystery, but as a gift cultivated through centuries of practice. In one reading, he told a businessman that his recurring health issues stemmed from cruelty inflicted on others in a distant lifetime, and that the cure lay not in medicine alone, but in choosing compassion and service. These revelations shocked those who came to him. Cayce made clear that what we call instincts or tendencies are often memories, fragments of the soul's earlier experiences surfacing into the present. Our loves, our fears, our natural abilities, even our flaws, may be the echoes of lessons unfinished. The subconscious, then, is not just a psychological layer of the mind. It is the bridge between past and present selves. Yet Cayce never intended this knowledge to inspire fear or obsession. He warned seekers not to fixate on who they might have been, but to focus on what those memories meant now. To dwell on being a soldier, a healer, or even a priest in ancient times was pointless unless one asked, "What did I learn then, and how can I use it today?" The subconscious, in Cayce's vision, was like a compass pointing to the lessons awaiting us. Each dream, each sudden feeling of déjà vu, each unexplained attraction or fear could be a whisper from those records. And the purpose of that whisper was not to chain the soul to its past, but to remind it of its responsibility in the present. The message was clear. Within the deepest parts of ourselves, we already carry the record of our journey. It is there, waiting to be remembered, transformed, and used for growth. In Edgar Cayce's vision, reincarnation was not a cycle of punishment, nor a trap from which the soul could not escape. Instead, each life was a carefully designed field of opportunities, chances to apply wisdom, to heal old wounds, and to grow closer to the divine source. He explained it to seekers in simple but profound words. What you build in this life is the foundation for the next. Each act of kindness opens a door. Each act of selfishness closes one. This teaching turned ordinary choices into sacred ones. A moment of patience with a child, a gesture of forgiveness toward an enemy, a sacrifice made out of love. These were not small. They were seeds, planted in the soil of eternity, destined to bloom in future lifetimes. Conversely, Cayce warned that acts of cruelty, dishonesty, or neglect were also seeds. They would not disappear simply because the soul passed through death. They would rise again, taking form as challenges in the next life, a broken relationship, a struggle with illness, a limitation that forced the soul to look inward. None of these, however, were curses. They were invitations, reminders to finish what was left undone. One seeker once asked Cayce why he faced constant betrayal in friendships. The answer was not easy to hear. In another lifetime, he had been the betrayer. Now the pain he felt was not punishment, but experience, a mirror held up so he could finally understand and choose differently. Cayce told him that the path forward was not despair, but forgiveness. To break the cycle, he needed to offer the loyalty he had once withheld. Such readings reframed life itself. Every success, every hardship, every relationship became more than coincidence. They became opportunities to create balance, to repay old debts with love, to transform shadows into light. And at the center of it all stood free will. Cayce never tired of repeating, "Nothing is fixed. No door remains locked forever. Even the heaviest burden from the past can be lifted by a single act of conscious choice in the present. This is why, he insisted, we must live deliberately. Every word spoken, every action taken, every decision made is a brushstroke on the canvas of eternity. Among Edgar Cayce's most remarkable and controversial readings were those about Jesus. To Cayce, the story of Christ was not a single event, but the culmination of many incarnations. He described the soul of Jesus as having walked the earth long before the Gospels, appearing in figures such as Emilius in Atlantis, Adam, Enoch, Melchizedek, and others. Each life was a preparation, each experience a step toward perfect union with the Creator. This teaching shocked many who heard it, yet Cayce framed it not as heresy, but as inspiration. If even the soul that became the Christ had lived through trial, error, and growth, then how much more could we, in our ordinary lives, strive to rise above our mistakes? The point was never to elevate ourselves by titles. I was once great, I was once powerful. Instead, it was to see that greatness is built one life at a time, through choices both small and large. Cayce explained that the progression of Christ's soul was the perfect illustration of his central message. It does not matter who you were, but what you did with what you were given. Jesus, in his final incarnation, embodied the highest fulfillment of this principle, choosing love in every act, forgiveness in every wound, and service in every moment. That life became the model for all others, showing that reincarnation is not endless repetition, but purposeful growth toward light. He also reminded seekers that they too were following a similar path, even if their steps seemed small. A mother caring for her children with patience, a worker choosing honesty over deceit, a stranger offering help without expecting reward. These, he said, are the same kinds of steps Christ once took in his own journey. The example of Jesus, then, was not meant to discourage by comparison, but to inspire by pattern. If one soul could rise from struggle to perfection, then every soul carried that same possibility. Each incarnation, no matter how difficult, was a chance to follow that pattern, to use the opportunities at hand and move closer to the divine. In the end, Edgar Cayce's message always circled back to one timeless truth. The soul is eternal, and each life is another step along an infinite road. Reincarnation, in his view, was not meant to trap us in endless cycles of despair. It was meant to give us endless chances to grow. Each incarnation was a new classroom, each experience a new lesson, each challenge a doorway toward greater understanding. He often reminded seekers that past lives are not chains binding us, but threads weaving us into the present moment. What matters is not the name we carried centuries ago, nor the roles we once played, but how those experiences shape who we are now. It does not matter so much who you were, Cayce repeated, but rather how your past actions influence your present life and what opportunities they open or close. This principle gave both weight and freedom to existence. Weight, because every choice matters. A word spoken in anger or kindness ripples far beyond this lifetime. Freedom, because every new day holds the power to reshape those ripples, to redirect the soul toward balance and harmony. Cayce also offered hope. No mistake is final, no failure eternal. The soul, guided by the Creator, is always moving forward. Even when it stumbles, even when it repeats the same errors, life will offer another opportunity. Another chance to choose love instead of hate, forgiveness instead of bitterness, compassion instead of indifference. In this vision, destiny is not a rigid script, but a living story. And every person is both author and character, writing the next chapter through their daily choices. The hardships we endure, the joys we celebrate, the people we encounter, all are threads in the fabric of the soul's education. For Cayce, the journey is not about escaping life, but about sanctifying it. Each incarnation, no matter how ordinary it seems, is sacred. Each soul is moving, slowly, steadily, sometimes painfully, back toward the source from which it came. And so, the journey never truly ends. It unfolds, life after life, choice after choice, opportunity after opportunity, until at last, the soul awakens fully to its purpose, to reflect the light of the Creator in all that it is and all that it does. So now you've heard the words of Edgar Cayce and the timeless truth he revealed. The soul never dies. It only learns, grows, and journeys forward. Every life, every choice, every heartbeat is part of that endless story. But the question remains, what will you do with the opportunities before you now? If this journey has spoken to you, if these truths have stirred something within your own soul, then don't let it end here. Join us as we continue to explore the mysteries of life, death, reincarnation, and the hidden wisdom of the ages. Subscribe to this channel and become part of a community that seeks not only answers, but transformation. Together, we will uncover more of Cayce's readings, more ancient knowledge, more insights that connect the past, the present, and the future of the soul. Hit the notification bell so you never miss what comes next, because each video is not just information. It is an invitation, a mirror, a step further on your own path. Remember, the journey of the soul is endless, but it is also yours, here and now. Don't walk it alone. Stay with us, and let's take the next step together.